In a minute, I'll talk to a politician who tried to warn us, who said some cultures don't fit in well with ours, and some people from war zones, tribal, third world countries would struggle to do well here. And he said, do not bring in so many Sudanese refugees or we will pay. That man was the then Immigration Minister, Kevin Andrews.
We cannot assume that the capacity of all of our potential migrants to integrate successfully is the same as their predecessors.
Now, what was done to Andrews then was so terribly predictable and so dangerous. We're paying for it now. So-called ethnic leaders attacked Andrews as racist, cruel for telling the hard truth.
Kevin Andrews' comment is it's victimising our communities in the street, at schools.
Newspapers vilified Andrews as a race baiter. The Melbourne Age, for instance, said his comments were unpleasant and inflammatory, aimed unfairly at Sudanese refugees to get a predictably base reaction from people sensitive to immigration on racial grounds. Well, Labor politicians like the then Queensland Premier joined this pack attack.
There is no more pure form of racism, and to have it come out of the mouth of the Federal Immigration Minister of this country is something that I think Australians will see for what it is, a very transparent and desperate act in the lead up to a federal election.
Even worse, Victoria's Police Chief Commissioner, Christine Nixon, a Labor hiring, even falsely claimed Andrews was wrong to say that the crime rate among Sudanese refugees was higher than the average. And federal Labor ran with that untruth as well.
The Victorian Police have stated that the level of Sudanese Australian crime is actually below the wider community average. So some of the sensationalist reports in the media about the Sudanese really are clearly not justified.
Note all that very well, because this shows you are not told the truth about immigration or ethnic crime. Not by most politicians, not by most journalists, not even by some police. And that's why we keep making the same mistakes. And that is why we see today in Victoria an incredible crime wave involving children of African refugees, and especially Sudanese. I'm sorry to sound so hard, but the facts need to be faced. Most people woke up to this problem only with the riot at this year's Moomba Festival in the heart of the city, as 100 or so Africans fought Pacific Islanders.
If that's the future, God help us, I tell you, that's very scary.
Then there are the many home invasions, including the following one: 6 Africans smashing into a home where the victim's great-granddaughter was sleeping.
He was already in the back of the house. 2 other guys were jumping through the lounge room window, 2 through the dining room window. I just adored that baby. I was living a nightmare.
This husband and wife, too traumatised to show their face, were woken when a boulder hurtled through their back doors at 5 this morning.
I grabbed the cricket bat and ran out and gave it to my husband, and that's when I saw that there were 3 males.
She was behind the door trying to hold it so that they wouldn't force their way in.
Now, just in the last month, there's also been a car chase on the Westgate Bridge and arrest of suspects in armed robberies. There's been the robbery of a Toorak jewellery store, and as well as street assaults and carjackings and more. Now, this latest disaster of our refugee program is now so obvious, so beyond denial, that even the left-leaning ABC now admits to what a decade ago it attacked Andrews for saying. Last night, its 7:30 program said, yes, we really do have a problem with some children of Sudanese refugees.
We have an influx all of a sudden of young people offending at an alarming rate. They don't have employment, they don't have schooling, and they are not under the control of their parents or guardians in that regard.
And this ABC report hinted at the reason, that clash of cultures that once made you a racist if you dared to notice.
I feel like it has, just because they feel like they can't really fit in, like whatever they do, they can't really fit in. So in order to fit in, they have to do something so they can stand out and be recognized for it.
The ABC last night talked to a Sudanese woman who said she'd even sent 2 of her children to school in Uganda so that they did not end up like 3 of her sister's children here on drugs or in jail. But of course she blamed Australian culture rather than her own.
A lot of children in Africa now in jail. There are a lot of children now in the street. They drown, they do whatever they do.
Why?
Because the freedom, the Australia give them freedom. Especially child protection, they give the kid freedom.
Same mistake all over again. You see, 40 years ago, Prime Minister Malcolm Fraser brought in Muslim Lebanese immigrants who were largely unskilled, illiterate, and as his immigration department warned him, unlikely to fit in easily. Result now, high gun crime, high levels of jihadism, high levels of welfare, low average incomes. Why do our politicians keep doing this to us? And why does our media scream abuse, racist, at people who try to warn against it?